everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the Look It Up podcast. I'm Chip Homer, and this is my pawpaw, Tony Gudo. So, we're a little late this week on our episode because he was feeling a little under the weather this week. We got a record-breaking 98 views, almost 100 views for our first episode on YouTube. You can find our episodes on Facebook under Tony Gudo and our videos on YouTube under the Look It Up podcast. So, we're going to have Papa tell you about what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks for all the views last week. You can make your comments over on Facebook at Tony Gudo, Goudeau. You're welcome to make comments there. Give us any information you think we ought to be sharing or any correction maybe we might be making. But today I want to talk a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about the Saints, maybe a little bit about college football, and mainly we're going to spend our time on the NFC in NFL to make sure we talk about all those divisions. A little bit on the Saints. Had an update this week. After the Jacksonville game, the Saints traded Saunders, one of the defensive tackles, mainly because we had too many defensive tackles. And they traded him to Jacksonville, and we got an extra offensive lineman, Luke Fortner, which is, he can play pretty much every position from what I understand. He can also play center if we need him. Also, last night, they traded for Valet, a wide receiver out of Denver, with Sean Payton. They talk real good about him. Even last year, Sean Payton was saying when they drafted him how good he was and how he compared him to Marcus Colston. Not quite as good, but a possession receiver. And last year, he had over 41 catches on third down. 26 of them were for first downs. 26 first downs out of 41. Pretty good receiver, 6'5". We needed a big receiver. Saints don't have a big receiver, so now we do. So also this week, the game will be tomorrow, starting at noon, I think it is. And from what I understand, Rattler's going to start. But it sounds like all three quarterbacks, from what I heard, is going to play sometime during the game tomorrow. They haven't named the starter yet for the game one. They probably should do that pretty soon, I would think, because you need to have the team knowing who they're going to play for. However, remember, we still got 2 weeks before the start of the season. 2 weeks from Sunday is when the first game is against Arizona. So, with that said, we'll just go from there. All right, let's talk about the NFC. Taylor, you got any comments before we go into each division?
I believe that we will have different opinions for the NFC because this is a pretty stacked conference. Besides the AFC, AFC was pretty easy to predict based on the last 5 years. So, take it away with your prediction for the
Yeah, let's look at the NFC. Let's look at each division in particular. Let's look at the East. The East has Philadelphia, Dallas, Washington, and the Giants. Several of those teams, Washington came out of nowhere last year, adding several receivers, adding Daniels as quarterback, made a big difference. A new coaching staff, so they came out of nowhere and ended up in the NFC Championship game, which is really surprising. Of course, Philadelphia, as everybody knows, won the Super Bowl last year. And Dallas is Dallas. I mean, we don't know what Dallas is going to have. They normally win 9-10 games, but when you get to the playoffs, they falter and don't make anything. The Giants are kind of still rebuilding. The Giants' defense is going to be real good. The Giants have stacked on defense. The only question there is offense. Now, I saw this weekend Dort played, and Dort looked real well. His numbers were way up there. Of course, like I said, he's playing in the preseason, playing against second and third string guys. I don't think he's going to start anytime soon, but he will be ready sometime for this season. My prediction in that division, I think Philly wins that division, and Washington is right there close to him.
I agree. I got the Philadelphia Eagles winning the NFC East. Also, talking about the New York Giants, I think that Russell Wilson starts, Jackson Dart is the backup, and Jameis Winston will be the third string.
Yeah, if Jameis
This is my reason because Jameis Winston, he's good, but he's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. He's a great backup quarterback.
Yeah, he could still be traded too.
If you saw his first snap as a Giant was a pick.
Yeah.
So that's what he's known for. He's literally known for throwing picks.
Yeah, I mean, I think the play was called. The play
Yeah.
was called back on the
Yeah.
penalty, but still, it was a pick. The first play he threw.
But he is pretty good. He had some good numbers last week as well.
Okay, let's move on to the North. NFC North got 4 very good teams up there. I say not 4 very good because Chicago's really, I don't know, but Minnesota, very good team. Green Bay, always been good. Detroit's good. They do have question marks. Minnesota is probably Minnesota and Detroit, I think, will fight for that division. But Minnesota, with a starting quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, has not played in the NFL. So he's a rookie, essentially. I mean, he sat out all last year with an injury, but he got to sit behind quarterbacks and got to learn the system. So, I still have a question mark on whether he can do what he needs to do there. Also, Detroit. They have the same team coming back. The only concern I have there is they lost their offensive coordinator, they lost their defensive coordinator, and I think they lost another 4 coaches. Yeah,
and going to Minnesota, their quarterback is a second. He's coming off a meniscus tear last year. He's looking pretty good supposedly in the preseason, but I haven't seen big things from him yet.
No. And Chicago's in the rebuild process right now. They do have a good offensive coordinator. I saw this weekend. They had a good game this week. I saw the quarterback looked real good, and he didn't play a whole lot, but they got a rookie quarterback. You never know what's going to happen. Maybe they strike gold just like Washington did last year. We'll find out. Green Bay is probably the most secure team in that division because they don't have a lot of changes on that team, and they were pretty good last year, and Green Bay is usually pretty stable. So I don't know who's going to win that division. At this point, I would probably lean toward Detroit.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Detroit too. But just because we haven't seen anything from J.J. McCarthy is why I don't have Minnesota winning that division. Now, if I've seen what J.J. McCarthy has done, I've seen him at Michigan. He was decent, but yeah, I have Detroit winning this division.
Okay, let's move over to the West. The West has Seattle, Arizona, the 49ers, and the LA Rams.
Yeah.
I think right now the LA Rams are probably the team to beat. They came on real strong last year at the end of the season. And for what I understand, the quarterback is healthy as of this week. He's playing. He's practiced every day so far this week. San Francisco's made some additions. They just picked up Washington is the guy's name from
Brian.
Redskins.
Yeah, Brian Washington.
They just picked him up before we even got on today. They picked him up. And I don't know if they need a running back, but I guess, McCarthy, what's his name?
For
49ers running back?
Brock Purdy.
No. Running back.
Chris McCaffrey.
Yeah, McCaffrey. McCaffrey has had a lot of injury problems over the years. They say he's healthy right now, but you just never know. And I guess they're just trying to get another backup. I know they had a good rookie last year that played very good football, but I guess they wanted to make sure, so they brought in another running back. I was thinking that guy might come to the New Orleans Saints, but I guess we missed out.
They were in the competition for him.
Yeah. So that team, I don't know. Seattle is kind of unknown. They just brought in Sam Darnold from Minnesota, who had a great year last year for the first year he's had in quite some time. He should make things different in Seattle. The Rams, I think, are the team to beat. 49ers and Rams, I think, are the 2 teams to beat. Arizona, they say they're on the upcline, but I still have my questions there. Murray has just not gotten the job fully done to get them where they need to be. Mm-hmm. What do you think about the West?
I got the Rams taking that division because the 49ers have been struggling with injuries the last 2 years. Especially last year, they lost McCaffrey. Deebo was pretty much hurt most of the year. Even when he played, he didn't look good. That's why they traded him to Washington this year. I have the Rams winning the NFC West.
Yeah. Okay, let's move to the South, where we've got Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Atlanta, Carolina. I watched a little bit of the game last night. Carolina did not look that great. They had quarterback issues. Of course, Bryce Young didn't play, but the other quarterbacks all played, and none of them looked that great. Atlanta, for what I understand, the defense is looking pretty good there, the new additions they made. But every year they say their defense is going to come around, but it never comes around where they need to be. So hard to tell. And they start kind of pretty much a rookie. Penix hadn't played a whole lot last year. They say he's going to be the thing to beat. We'll find out. Tampa Bay, I think, is still the team to beat in that division. They've won like 4 years in a row, maybe 5. That's got 4 for sure, and they've probably got the best all-around team if you look at the offense and the defense. As you know, with the Saints, there's a lot of turmoil going on with the Saints, a lot of new people, a lot of excitement. Everybody's talking good. The team, the players all talking real good about the coaching staff, how things are moving in the right direction. I think the Saints' decision just comes down to with the quarterback, the quarterback. I think the defense will be much improved. The defense looks like even the second and third string looked pretty good the last few weeks. And the first string, I understand some of them are going to play mostly some of the game tomorrow, so we'll find out. Right now, I think Tampa Bay is still going to win that division at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I have Tampa Bay winning the NFC South.
So if you look at the NFC West and who's going to be in the playoffs and who not, well, I personally think Philly's going to be in the playoff. They'll win that division.
In the East, yeah.
In the East. In the South, Tampa Bay is going to win that division. In the West, we both agree it's going to be the Rams. The only question mark is in the North.
Yeah.
I believe Detroit will probably end up winning it, mainly because of their attitude, and they've been there. Like Bum Phillips used to say, we knocked on the door this year, and this coming year we can kick it in. Mm-hmm. So we're going to see if Dan Campbell can kick it in. I believe they're going to end up doing that. It will be between them and Green Bay and Minnesota. So I'm going to pick Detroit. And then you got 2 wild cards. The wild card, I would say, will probably be the Redskins, and not the Redskins, the Commanders.
Commanders.
In my generation, it was the Redskins. I think Washington will be the wild card out of the East with Philly, and more than likely Minnesota or Green Bay as a wild card.
And I got Atlanta probably making the wild card.
Who?
I don't like Atlanta, but I got them making the wild card.
You got Atlanta making the wild card? Okay. Well, I think it'll be Green Bay or Minnesota. But anyway, we'll find out. My personal prediction for the NFC Championship is Philadelphia Eagles versus the Detroit Lions. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I got Detroit and the Eagles.
Okay, well, let's move on. We're going to move on to a few other things. Talk about LSU. They looked a little bit better in the scrimmage I heard last week. They've got a lot of players coming back on defense. I looked at reading a lot of articles this week about the LSU defense, and they're going to be very much improved, especially in the secondary and the linebacker area. They're going to bring in back a lot of guys. Both the Weeks boys are going to be there, in addition to Perkins. And the defensive line is going to be stacked. So I think they're going to be very good on defense. The key is, can LSU score enough points to win? And I think they can. I think they can score 30, 35 points a game. And if that's the case, we should be able to hold people below 30. Mm-hmm. Right?
Nussmeier has to show up this year.
Yeah, it's up to Nussmeier. But without him, as long as he don't get injured, we're in good shape. Other than that, we might be in pretty bad shape. I don't know who would have several quarterbacks, but nobody that's really stepped up on that side of the ball. But anyway, next week we're going to spend next Wednesday when we do our podcast. We're going to spend the majority of it looking at the Saints' schedule, predicting game by game what we think is going to happen. We're also going to look at the LSU schedule. So we're going to look at both teams next week and kind of predict what we think is going to happen with each game that they play and where we think they're going to end up by the end of the year. High hopes for LSU, of course, by most people. I looked at a lot of predictions this week in the paper and on TV. The Saints, nobody picks the Saints to do anything this year across the media, so I'm not sure what's going to happen. But we'll find out. I mean, things happen, you never know. A lot of teams go from last to first, and you just never know when it's going to happen. Also, this week kicks off college football. Tomorrow is what they call it, week zero of college football, because the first week, the majority of the games all start next week. This week, there's like a half a dozen games going on. And as I mentioned before, I have a picks website that I'm putting together right now. I used to do this several years back. I had a website called GoPicks.com, which I'm trying to revitalize. I'm in the process of creating the website. It should be ready within the next few weeks. But what I'm going to do this year on the website is I'm going to give free picks all year. I'm not going to charge any charges or anything for any of my advice. The only thing I'll say with wagers is please don't wager anything that you can't afford to lose. If you can afford to lose $10, then put $10 on the game. If you can afford to lose 20, put $20 in a game. But don't spend money and hurt your family or hurt yourself. This weekend, there's I think a half a dozen games. I'm gonna give you 3 picks that I'm gonna put my wagering on. Not a lot, like I said. First one, I'm gonna take Iowa State +3 against Kansas State. I think those 2 games, that could be the best game. They're playing that overseas.
So who's playing this week 0 game tomorrow?
On all of them?
There's multiple games tomorrow?
Yeah, Iowa State
Okay.
and K-State is one of them. And I like Iowa State +3 points. They playing overseas. And Fresno State and Kansas is playing tomorrow. I like Fresno State +13 points over Kansas. Kansas will probably win the game, but I like Fresno State plus those 13 points. They got Sam Houston playing Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky has been a good team, but they lost a lot of players this past year and moved on to some bigger schools and those kind of things. And I don't know who's going to win the game, but Sam Houston getting 10.5. I can't pass that up. I got to take the 10.5. But anyway, like I said, if you're going to bet on any of those games, please don't overdo it. There's a couple of other games. I think Southern plays this week here in Baton Rouge, and there's Hawaii's playing Stanford, I think it is. In that game, I would take Stanford on the money line. The reason I say that is because it started out that Stanford was a 2.5 point favorite, and in the last week it moved over, and Hawaii is a 2.5 point favorite. So it's a value deal, and I would take Stanford on the money line and make a little bit of money there if they win straight up.
Yeah.
And that's about it today for our podcast, except for Chael's going to make a few comments about UFC. They had some UFC fights last week that we watched together with our family. And he's going to make a few comments on that. Go ahead, Chael.
So, I'm going to get straight to the point. DDP got dominated by Khamzat Chimaev. DDP looked like he had no answer. Every time Mark Goddard pushed them back up to the feet, just Khamzat would take him right back down. Like DDP would throw a jab, Khamzat would act like he was gonna trade with him, and then just go back to the double leg and slam him. And I was expecting a finish, but it wasn't a finish. But it was a good fight. But if you don't like the ground, if you don't like people being on the ground the whole fight, go watch boxing. Like, people are like, oh, they don't strike enough. Like, bro, it's MMA. They're gonna be on the ground most of the time. Sometimes, so if you don't like the ground game, just go watch boxing. Okay, so that will be about it for our second episode of the Look It Up podcast.
Yeah, thanks a lot for looking at Look It Up podcast. Go to Facebook, make any comments you'd like, good or bad, whatever you think, and also share everything you see so we get more people looking at us. We're not charging anything. We're not making any money. We're just trying to do something that we've been wanting to do for quite some time. Enjoy ourselves talking about football, talking about sports, and we're going to continue doing it in the future. Thanks again. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for watching the Look It Up podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye.